Around 20 years ago, my grandmother Olga sat down at her computer and wrote her story. Thinking that the computer was a typewriter, every day she wrote, she printed, with no page numbers. So by the end, she had a massive pile of paper all stacked up and put into a box. Last year, my mom Erika had it put in order and translated from Hungarian to English. Since my grandmother passed away in 2017, we didn't have the opportunity to have her record her story. So I have. I will also be weaving a parallel journey of my grandmother's life with my mom's life and mine, as we travel into the past, learn about my grandmother, and learn about ourselves at the same time. The journey continues. Olga, Erika, and me. Part 2. The Glass-Heeled Shoes. We have arrived at Auschwitz. My husband Mark and I were brought here by a tour company van with 3 other couples. There are a lot of people here. It's a gorgeous sunny day. It's weird to think that we are here exactly 80 years after my family would have been brought here. We've been put into a group of 30 people, and there are many other groups being taken in with tour guides speaking many different languages. Headphones are handed out so we can hear our English-speaking tour guide while she speaks quietly into her microphone. It is very well organized and very quick, and we start our tour at exactly 8:50 as stated on our ticket.
And later twist the dial aside the receiver on this side. Oh, this is the volume.
We are led through a new tunnel that has been built to connect the outside world to Auschwitz I. As you can hear, there is a voice naming some of the victims.
Ewa Frischmanowa, Rosa Kuhn, Charlotte Gnoma, Aaron Schein.
As soon as we get to the other side, our guide immediately begins to rattle off the numbers of those brought to Auschwitz and killed. These are extraordinary numbers, but as you look around and listen to the quickly spoken facts, it's sadly not hard to believe. We walk through the gates. Arbeit macht frei. Work sets you free. It's a whirlwind of a tour. Auschwitz I is like a movie set, a museum, and the tour does not give you enough time to take it all in. You are rushed through from one exhibit to the other to get all the people through. We quickly are escorted out and then put back in our vans and head to Auschwitz II, Birkenau. A stark contrast to Auschwitz I. Auschwitz II, it's desolate, it's vast. It feels unchanged, as if we have just stepped back through time. I expected to see it all in black and white, but because it's a beautiful sunny day, everything is in bold, clear colors. The train tracks running through the middle are still there, as if waiting for another transport. It's very eerie. We walk along the train tracks, noting that my family would have walked this path in chaos and confusion. It was like a nightmare. We had to get out of the wagons and leave everything behind. A moment later, the men were already being lined up some distance away. I realized that I wasn't holding my mother's hand anymore. A man was standing before me, pointing with his baton to the right. I found myself all alone, tears running down my face, and I didn't even have a handkerchief to wipe my eyes. Someone asked me in Hungarian, "Why are you crying?" Because I was separated from my parents. It's because the elderly are taken by lorries. My parents aren't old. When am I going to see them again? They will be there when you arrive. This was just another lie. We were herded into a barrack that wasn't quite finished yet. When we left home, I packed my gray high-top lace-up shoes in my bag and put on a beautiful pair of high heels which I had bought in the autumn of 1943. They were lovely shoes made of brown calfskin, soft as gloves with glass heels. They were made in Germany. I always bought the best. My mother used to say that we didn't need to buy many things, but we had to buy the best. In January 1944, I had bought a pair of wedge sandals, the kind one tied at the ankles. I packed these up as well. Why on earth did I? I knew we weren't going on vacation, but I would have felt sorry to leave them behind in the ghetto. Why did I put on my best clothes? Because I didn't want to leave them behind, though we had to leave all our valuables in the ghetto. We arrived in Auschwitz-Birkenau at 4 a.m. They didn't even give us time to stretch our legs after being cramped in the cattle cars from Saturday afternoon to Tuesday early morning. The prisoners emptying the wagons were screaming at us to get out as fast as we could. Why was it so urgent that we left fast? Because they didn't want us to realize how many people lay dead in the wagons. I was already inside the camp when I realized that I was wearing the glass-heeled shoes. My mother had kept telling me to put on the lace-up shoes, and I kept saying, later, later. This is how I ended up in the glass-heeled shoes, and I can't begin to tell you how much suffering they caused me. It was all like a mad whirl. We were standing in a huge hall in front of a glass wall, and I could see 2 ovens. An involuntary shiver ran through me as a man was grinning at me. This was the crematorium. I have no idea how I guessed, but the sight made me shudder. Excuse me, will we be passing block 1?
The block 1, but in which sector?
B3 block 1.
In Birkenau or in the Auschwitz camp?
In Birkenau.
In Birkenau. Lager B. Aha. B3, Lager B. This is maybe the Hungarian sector?
Yes.
So the Hungarian sector was over there and the wooden barracks have gone. Yes, the wooden
we're
barracks
not going
have
there.
gone. No,
they're
we
gone.
are walking along nearby the sector B. But because there was the Terezin ghetto, sector B. The Hungarian sector later.
Yes, Hungarian.
So the Hungarian was the sector
My
C.
grandmother was there.
So we are just walking by this sector in a
Will
way.
you tell me?
I will show you.
Thank you very much.
Also, our group, please, let's move on.
The tour guide once again takes us quickly through Auschwitz to Birkenau. Mark and I try to take some time to look around and take it all in. Can I leave a stone here?
Yes, of course, yes, you can leave a stone, yes, you have the tablet in English.
I'm standing at the top of Birkenau, where the crematoriums would have been. There's a big memorial with flags and plaques in different languages. Forever let this place be a cry of despair and a warning to humanity, where the Nazis murdered about 1.5 million men, women, and children, mainly Jews from various countries of Europe. Auschwitz-Birkenau, 1940 to 1945. That's a lot of people. The destruction of the crematoriums are still here, left untouched since the Germans tried to destroy them.
Do you know any prayers in Hebrew?
Yes,
Yeah?
I do. I don't know if I know the correct ones. My grandmother taught me a nighttime prayer,
Yeah.
which I said religiously, and I was just trying to remember it now because I haven't said it in probably 30, 40 years. And I can't. I kind of have it, but I can't latch onto it. Shema
Do you have the sounds?
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Adisal, Achayim Vod. But she said it in a very different accent from the way I learned Hebrew. So I think I learned it from her.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for me to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod. Oh, I can't remember. They were asking if there were children under 13 among us. Executioners disguised as maids were yelling at us in German and Hungarian to undress. I was petrified. One of them came up to me and pulled at my arm. "Don't you speak Hungarian? Take everything off." I had never been naked in front of anyone, not even my mother. If you have any jewelry, put it in this box, you'll get it back later, they said. I was wearing a silver necklace with a little heart around my neck, a birthday present, and a silver ring on my right index finger. The ring had my brother Bella's picture built into it. He had given it to me when he came home on a 2-day leave from the army. And now this nobody pulled the ring off my finger. It wasn't a valuable ring, but it was precious to me because of my dear brother's picture. He was so young. He had hardly lived. The twins were drafted into the army in 1940. Bella came home on leave a few times, but Jenna only got leave once. He was often locked up as punishment. He got a 2-week leave when he came down with typhoid, even though he had been vaccinated. He came home emaciated in his own civilian clothes. We received no mail from the twins, and we never learnt when they had been transferred from the regular army to a forced labor battalion. In the autumn of 1943, the Ministry of Defense notified us that Bella had been taken prisoner of war. We never heard from him again. As to Jenna, we never found out what had happened to him.
Going back to some of the stories in Auschwitz, you said to me that you felt that she hadn't talked about when they were taken to Auschwitz, but I'm sure she talks about it in the memoir. Because I remember you said to me you were really upset, that's why you stopped reading it, because you found that she'd missed out a whole section.
The whole section was when she separated from her mother. She doesn't talk that it's Mengele who separated her. That was the thing that upset me. What else did she leave out? I mean, that was something she talked to me over and over and over again. She said to him, "Why are you separating me from her? She's still young. She's only 55 years old." And he just waved his hand.
As soon as we were undressed, they cut our hair and all hair from our body, gave us a piece of soap, and told us to get into the shower. We were standing there stark naked, and we had nothing to cover our nakedness, as those wretched Polish men were watching us. But this was just the beginning. After the shower, we had to get in line again. We were told to bend low, and some foul-smelling, scathing liquid was injected into our bottom and under our armpits. Those Polish beasts humiliated us out of pure hatred because they had already been suffering for 3 or 4 years. We never got our own clothes back. They only left us our shoes. After being disinfected, they threw us some clothes. I got a thick, heavy ankle-length rag and panties that stank of disinfectant. I put them on with disgust. The black cloth soaked up the sun and was burning my skin, and we had to sleep with our clothes on, jammed in head to toe like sardines. 1,200 women were jammed into our barrack that consisted of a large hall and a small room. At night, it was impossible to get out of the barrack to do your business. It was impossible to climb through all those heads and legs. If you tried, people would grumble that you were disturbing their sleep. This was worse than a nightmare. I was lying still on the cold, hard floor all night. Sleep wouldn't come, and I was crying soundlessly all night. Where are my parents? When will I see them again? Where is my dear sister Ilush and her little boy? I kept telling myself not to think until the morning came. I was trying to recall a good film or a good book to distract myself. If I were at home now, I would turn on the light on my nightstand and read for a long time, I thought to myself. Just accept the way things are, and maybe it will be better tomorrow. The following day, there was another slap in the face. 2 Poles came early in the morning and told all the children under 13 to stand on one side, and they took them without a word. Their older siblings were just standing there crying. We didn't know then that we would never see them again. We still had hope. We were still hoping that they brought us here to work, but we didn't know what the next day would bring, if we would ever be free again. There was a kind woman with us in the barrack called Auntie Erzike. She was about my mother's age, and she never had any children. She took some of us young girls under her wing. Whenever she saw that I was sad, she asked me to sit beside her and told me, "I want to see a smile on your face. I want you to remain pretty and healthy until I can hand you back to your parents. I didn't know you well back in Hodhaz, but I always told my husband Deju, what a smiling little girl you are. I didn't see many like you. And we never saw another couple who walked down the street holding each other so tightly as you and your husband," I replied. Auntie Erzike smiled, but I could feel that she was pretending. She never got tired of giving us encouragement and hope. I was grateful and gave her as much affection as I could. I felt that we were making up for all those childless years she had endured. She often tried to talk me into eating the food brought to us in the cauldrons, no matter how foul it tasted, but I couldn't even swallow a mouthful. I was so sickened by the smell of bromide.
This is where the Hungarians stayed.
Which is what we were just looking at over there.
Yes.
Yeah, because we just walked up that side,
Yes.
around that, and we're
Yes.
going down here.
So the crematorium was there.
Yeah.
I wish I could spend more time here. Do I want to spend more time here? Maybe not. It's so eerie. I feel strange being here. I feel so wrong being here on a beautiful day. In full color. I can see the railroad track. I can see the chimneys left from the wooden barracks that are now gone. I just want to take it all in, memorize everything I see. The stone of the stone barracks look so beautiful. They look like farms. Very simple tile on the top. My grandmother's barrack doesn't exist anymore. It's been destroyed. Seeing the destroyed crematorium was pretty devastating. I've put 4 stones down at the memorial. I hope my family knows I was here for them.
Every day, we were wakened at dawn when it was still dark. We had to line up in rows of 5 in the long, narrow barrack, half of us facing the other half. It was bitterly cold in Upper Suliju, where we were standing on a pell for 3 to 4 hours, sometimes in just a dress. I always stood in the front row. When the appel was finished, they brought in the coffee, a smelly green liquid. I poured a little in my hands, took a big gulp, and rinsed my mouth with it. Then an ugly woman came in to check if there were any sick people. My cousin Dory had goosebumps all over her body from the cold, and the doctor said she had scarlet fever. "What kind of a doctor are you?" I said to her. "You should know that you get red rashes from scarlet fever. Look at my cousin. Her skin is purple from the cold. Come back when the sun is up and you will see that she is healthy." "If you don't stop talking, they will take you too," she retorted. Once the sun came up, it was so hot it was burning us. After a few days, many of us had blisters on our hands, legs, and face. We looked terrible, and many people were taken to hospital. At noon, they brought large cauldrons full of some disgusting food. Around 3 in the afternoon, we got a little piece of bread for supper. It was made of grass, dust, and whatever else they could find, but there was definitely no flour in it. They put some marmalade or salami or a tiny bit of margarine on it. I spread half the margarine on my shoes. As I had not eaten all day, I divided this tiny piece of bread into 2. I tore a strip off my dress and wrapped half of it in the cloth. I ate it in the morning, and this little piece kept me going until supper the following day. I was lucky because I never ate much, so I didn't suffer pangs of hunger like those with a big appetite.
It's funny, I thought I'd be a blubbering mess, but I'm okay. Isn't that weird? Or do I just need time to reflect? Or am I cold-hearted?
Yeah. Yeah, you are, yeah.
Why am I not crying? Well, maybe because you need a survivor to feel the emotion. I feel like I've got a survivor with me. I've got my grandmother with me.
My cousin Dory was used to eating a lot because grandmother, worrying that she was ill if she ate a smaller portion, would give her more. Grandmother's whole life revolved around Dory. I think she felt guilty whenever she looked at her granddaughter. Dory's mother had married a very handsome young man, but he didn't like living with his mother-in-law. He asked his wife to emigrate with him to America, but grandmother didn't let her daughter go because she was pregnant. Before leaving, her husband promised to arrange everything as soon as he could and bring her and the child over. He made his mother-in-law promise that she would let them go. Grandmother promised, but when the papers arrived, she didn't let her only daughter and granddaughter leave to find happiness with her husband. Everybody said he was a very nice man. Grandmother ruined their lives. Unfortunately, Dory wasn't raised by her mother. Auntie Peppy was a very quiet woman. She never laughed. Her beautiful brown eyes were always full of sadness. She had a big heart. We all loved her very much. She could have remarried, but she never wanted to. I think she never stopped grieving over her ruined life. When Dory and I were separated from our family, we felt so miserable we just sat on the floor crying. Then she looked at me accusingly and said, "You have no reason to cry. Your parents are young and healthy, but my grandmother is old and my mother isn't healthy either. I will never see them again." I was horrified by all the hatred she subconsciously harbored against me. How could she hurt me so much? As children, we always played together, not out of pity because she didn't have a father. I liked her. She was narrow-minded, however. She thought that no one else liked grandmother as much as she. It really wounded me when she said, "my grandmother." She's my grandmother, too. Dory never understood that I loved her with all my heart because she didn't know that one could love more than one person. Love has many forms, I told her. You can love your mother, you can love a beautiful flower or a nice dress. It all depends on you. "What do you mean?" she asked. "You must understand that we are the only ones left from our family here. Please don't erect a wall between us. I don't want to see you cry all alone," I said as I embraced her. She didn't return the embrace, but at least she didn't pull away from me. A few days later, she came to see me. She took my hand and asked, "Do you really love me?" "Dory," I said, "I meant what I said. I am no actress. I have always loved you, and one day you will understand. I am 2 years older than you. We could be sisters. When we arrived in the camp, I said that you were also called Berkowitz because I didn't want to be separated from you, and I hope we will be like sisters." She had a hard time finding her place in the camp.
I think because it was so real going into the wooden barracks. It was so real, walking in and seeing how so many people could have been stuffed in there. It said out on one of the panels that it would have had 50 horses in there originally. There were supposed to be stables for horses. And they were then fitting 700 to 1,000 people in there. My grandmother talks about her first night sleeping on the cold floor with bugs and who knows what, not knowing what's happening to her, what's happened to the rest of her family, her parents, and being so frightened. It's shocking because the more I read about it or the more I watch about it, I feel like I've been in a cloud or something. Like, how did I not know all of this already? Where have I been? Like, I think that's what really upsets me more than anything else, is I'm 53 years old, and I only now know.
A few days later, we got together in front of our barrack, sat down on the ground, and sang arias from operas. We were soon surrounded by several inmates, and a girl that I didn't know took my hand and thanked me for the singing. An hour had passed and she didn't cry, she said. We tried hard to maintain our morale and keep our sanity, but we felt powerless. We didn't know how and when all this would end. The uncertainty lasted hours, days, weeks. We had to keep busy and try not to think. Idleness was a real killer. It would have been easier to bear our fate if we were allowed to do something, anything. The German guard who was standing some 50 feet from us must have been wondering why we were singing, but we didn't care. Once they brought an orchestra. I think they were Czech musicians. They were standing in the blazing sun dressed in their striped uniforms. They played a Wagner opera, but with such sadness in their eyes that I couldn't help but feel pity for them. I couldn't enjoy the performance. I suffered terribly from thirst and heartburn. My poor empty stomach tormented me day and night. One night I couldn't take it anymore, and I went to see the doctor. She lived in the small room attached to our large hall with some other parasites. They made it very comfortable for themselves. One of them was an interior designer, and she used all the blankets with which we were supposed to cover ourselves to make some couches in the room. When I knocked, the doctor yelled out the window, "What do you expect? Do you think this is a sanatorium?" "No, but it's not a hotel either," I replied. "I only need to drop a word to the Blockadteste, and she will take away all your comfort." "You go and try," she retorted. I knew she would have the last word. The following day, Dory had goosebumps all over her body, and I started arguing with the doctor once again. I knew it would be harder to convince her this time. She looked at me and said that Dory was ill. "Why do you keep repeating it?" I asked her. "Do you take pleasure in lording over us? You know very well that she isn't sick." She looked at me with loathing, trying to intimidate me, but she didn't do anything. I fought for Dory like a tigress. I knew that only I could save her. We had been in Birkenau for almost a month already. Our Blockadteste, Olga, was a decent woman. The others yelled and screamed all the time. One day, I went up to the German guard and asked him, I speak a very good German, to let me go through the wire to pick some nice wild flowers for the Blockadteste, as it was her name day. He looked at me in the eyes and said, "How do you know?" "Because my name is also Olga," I replied. He lifted the wire without a word. I crawled through, quickly picked some flowers, and crawled back in. I bowed my head and thanked him. He could see the tears in my eyes. When I took the flowers to the Blockadteste's room, she looked at me and I said, "I wish you a happy name day." She was standing there motionless with tears in her eyes. "How do you know it's my name day?" "Because I know it's July 27th, which is Olga Day, and my name is also Olga." We hugged each other as tears were flowing from our eyes. "I haven't been able to cry for 4 years," she said. "I am so thankful to you for this. Where did you get the flowers?" When I told her, she clapped her hands and said, "How did you find the courage to do this?" "I wanted to make you happy," I replied, "and I'm glad to see I succeeded." She told me that her feet and legs were full of black spots from frostbite. When she had arrived, there were no gas chambers. The Germans threw children in the air and shot at them laughing. They were competing to see who could shoot them down faster. When Olga saw my terrified face, she hugged me. I didn't want to know about these horrible stories. I never told anyone what I had done or that I ever talked to Olga. Maybe I can forget if I never tell anyone what she told me.
Where to, do you think?
That reminds me of War of the Worlds. The Martian machines. Isn't it? The lookout.
Yeah,
It's so primitive.
it is. There would have been a ladder off that or something.
I wonder where my grandmother was, where she asked if she could pick some flowers. You know, on the other side of the fence.
Was that around here?
But I can't imagine her passing through here. It would have to have been a passageway, right?
You'd have thought so.
So it's not here. The men who came to empty the latrines every day brought good news, and we believed them. We had to believe if we didn't want to go crazy or give up. Hundreds of people died because they felt they had nothing to live for. Their willpower deserted them and their weakened bodies gave up. I wasn't an optimist, but I didn't give up. My 16-year-old niece on my mother's side, Magda, was in Block 1. I tried to keep her spirits up. It was easier to help her because she was devoted to me, all the more so as her 13-year-old sister had been taken away the morning after their arrival. We were not allowed to go from one barrack to the other, and those who were afraid didn't even try. I wasn't a hero, but I wasn't a coward either. Let me give you an example. For 10 years, we went to Antipap for milk every evening. One evening when the Germans were all ready and hungry, I went for milk. I brought along a pot to put the milk in. Auntie Pap washed her hand with kosher soap, milked the cow, and then poured the milk into the pot. As I was standing in the door of the stable, I saw a 30-year-old man jumping over the fence shouting, "Mrs. Pap, you are still giving milk to the stinking Jews?" I could hear her legs shaking and the milk sloshing around in the pot. My heart racing, I replied to the man in a confident voice, "What do you want, you filthy peasant?" He looked at me and said, "Aren't you afraid of me? How dare you call me a filthy peasant?" "Why couldn't I call you a filthy peasant if you call me a dirty Jew? I can assure you I am not afraid of you." He clapped his hand and laughed in a strained voice. "I like you. I've never met a courageous girl like you," he said. And with that he turned on his heel and left. When I got home, I burst out crying. My mother looked at me and asked what had happened. Who hurt you? I sat down and said, this was the last time we went for milk. Then I recounted what had happened. This nobody made me realize that we were no longer safe. I called him an arrow cross, a member of the Hungarian Nazi Party. He could have knocked me down for this without any consequences, and my poor parents would have waited for me in vain. These gloomy thoughts kept me up all night. Let's return to our beautiful life in the concentration camp. The roof of our barrack was made of planks. We had been in the camp for about 3 weeks when it started raining. It rained non-stop for 3 days and 2 nights, and the roof, which wasn't covered with tar paper, leaked. We spent the first night standing with our backs to each other for a little warmth. It was terrible. When it got dark the second night, I walked over to Block 1. Someone saw me and started shouting, "The glass heel is here!" I threw myself on the ground and lay there on my stomach with my shoes under me, not daring to move. Everyone who went to the latrines during the night walked on my back. Block 1 didn't leak, but when people came back from outside and stepped on me with dirty shoes, they got my dress all dirty. I sneaked back to my barrack early in the morning. When we lined up for the appel, everyone was asking why my clothes were all muddy. I didn't answer. I didn't trust anyone. My cousin Dory was the only person who knew where I had been that night. I knew she wouldn't tell on me. Then the rain stopped, but water was still dripping from the ceiling. It was cold, and hunger made us feel even colder. One noon, lunch came and someone said we shouldn't eat it. It was poisoned. A few women took the cauldron down to the ditch and buried its content, making sure the guard didn't see anything. We had been in the camp for 3 weeks already, and as I said, I was suffering from terrible heartburn. I had another serious problem, too. Everyone had to line up in front of the latrines. When it was my turn, as soon as I sat down, if they asked, "Are you doing number 1 or number 2?" I was already on my feet. I couldn't do my business in front of others. I hadn't been able to do my business since we left the brickyard, and I was afraid of getting twisted guts, which would be the end of my little vacation. When you were standing on appel, you weren't allowed to step out of line, even if you were about to faint. We were standing on appel one sunny day, and I thought no one else would be crazy enough to step out of line. The guard would just shoot them like a dog. I didn't care. All I could think of was that nobody would be asking number 1 or number 2 if I went to the latrines now. I walked back relieved with an easy heart, and I only felt sorry for the Blockelteste who was gaping at me. "Where did you go?" she asked. "I'm sorry. I know I committed a breach of discipline, but let me explain," I replied. She told me to step away from the line. Out of earshot of the other inmates, she said, "Kneel down. You don't need to explain why you did it. I know you're not the kind of girl who disobeys an order, especially here." Her kind words made me cry. I was lucky the capo didn't come out to the appel. He was a vicious man. He was always screaming at us, "Kneel down, all of you, and stay on your knees until I come back. We have been rotting here for 4 years while you were dancing in the Palladium. Our people were being murdered while you were still having fun." We were taken to the bath from time to time. We had to walk far, but we were happy to go. After the bath, we were forced to sit on the ground because there were no chairs. You can get used to anything, and you'd better accept what you get when you can't change it. You mustn't despair. That can destroy you. A lame Polish woman came to our barrack regularly. She always hit the doorpost with her long stick and shouted bad news. Then she disappeared in a flash, like a witch on a broomstick. Nobody took her seriously. We didn't believe what she said, otherwise we would have gone crazy. We later learnt that all she said was true. I can't say we were completely sane. Take me, for example. I haven't had a single peaceful night for years. My poor husband always had to wake me up from nightmares in which I was fleeing German murderers. He said he was sorry for waking me, but I was screaming and crying, and he couldn't bear to listen to it. His great love for me taught me that I didn't have to fear anything or anyone.
I've lived in my mother's world all my life. It was a very hard world. When my mother told me the first time what happened to her, I was 10 years old. I had such anger welling inside of me towards everyone. Do you get that? I feel jealous of other people who never had to go through shit like my mother did, my family did. I feel pure envy. reading about it, suffering through it, was enough. I read a lot of books on it when I was a teenager. I was interested, I was curious, I wanted to know. And I wanted to feel the pain, because that way it was understanding my mother. And I wanted to know about it and reject everything. I'm not Jewish. I don't want to be Jewish because I don't want this pain. I don't want to be Jewish. When I was 5 or 6, I was walking down the street and kids used to call me dirty Jew. And these were kids who were dirtier than me. They snot on them. They were disgusting little boys. And they called me dirty Jew. And I went home and I said to my mother, why are they calling me dirty Jew? I'm not dirty. She said, no, you're not. I said, are we Jewish? She said, yes, we are. I said, can't we change?
At the end of August, a number of girls were taken from our barrack. I missed the girls from Benjamin. I got along with them well, and their departure left a great void. I had nothing to start the day with, no one to talk to or sing with, but I had to accept everything as it was. Nothing is permanent. No one knows what the day will bring, I said to myself, and returned to my well-tried recipe of trying not to think. I was sitting on the ground, writing my name in the dirt first with my right hand, then with my left, then with my right, endlessly. Can you imagine how long a day can be if you have nothing to keep yourself busy with and you don't want to think? Idleness feels cruel, and time just drags on and on. Sometimes I try to recall a good book I had read. If only I could talk about it with someone, but no one was interested in a good book or a good film. My sister Ilush and her husband lived in Debrecen before the war. They always told me when a new film came out or a new play was put on in the town's theater. I used to go to Debrecen at least twice a week. The bus from Miskolc arrived in Hadhaz every morning at 9. The driver knew me because I once sat in the back and I got so sick from all the shaking that he had to stop. From then on, he always gave me a seat in the front. Sometimes I would go to Debrecen Friday morning and we would go see a play in the Chokani Theater Saturday night. My parents were happy that I had someone to go with. In the camp, I was trying to recall the films and plays I had seen in Debrecen, and it helped me take my mind off my predicament for a little while at least.
Hello? Hello.
I'm so sorry.
Why are you sorry? Hold on a second. I'm just going to put... You what?
I wanted to be with you. Tell me about it.
Auschwitz I felt like a museum. I can't really explain it. You know, there were pictures and there were displays of hair and glasses, and I think what was harder was being at Birkenau because that's where Gumama was. And you see the train tracks, you see where they would have been sorted, you see the barracks. I could see where Gumama probably stayed. There was one side where there were brick-made barracks, and on the other side there would have been wooden barracks, and there was only one row of wooden barracks still standing. The rest just had chimneys, because those were made of brick. And then at the very end of it, you had the crematoriums, and those were completely destroyed by...
Really?
Oh yeah, by the SS. But they've left the ruins there. I think the hardest bit for me was walking down where the train tracks were and walking down the path where people would have been taken to the crematoriums. But weirdly, I almost cried, but I didn't.
Almost cried, but you didn't. You just couldn't. It was just too much emotion.
It felt right to be there. I'm really glad I did it. I think it's going to take me a couple of days.
It's sort of a finality, isn't it?
I think it's just going to sit there for a while. You hear about it all your life, and then to actually witness it.
Well, it's good that there were a lot of tourists.
I mean, even Mark was like, this is great that there's so many people here.
How is your weather?
That's the other weird thing, is that it's 25 degrees here, perfect blue sky, gorgeous day. It just feels unreal.
Send me pictures, send me what you take. Okay?
All good.
I'm
okay?
so sorry I wasn't with you.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for going.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.